Well, hello, everybody, and happy Wednesday, y'all. Happy Wednesday. So, just a quick reminder that y'all, if you just logged in, your cameras and microphones are not turned on or enabled, okay? So, don't stress about turning anything off or muting anything. They're not ready to go for y'all. So, first and foremost, I want to make sure that you all can hear me okay. Today's session is for students that are in week 3, module 3 of IDS 104. So we're going to talk today all about communication, how to engage online, and we're going to go through the only assignment that you have for this week, which is that project draft assignment, okay? So I just wanted to make sure that I clarified that. Also, today's session is recorded. So if you have to hop off or you have technical difficulties or you're multitasking or you just want to watch it again, it's recorded and we posted within 24 hours on that IDS 104 YouTube page, okay? I'm going to give folks just another minute or so to get logged in because usually people come in right at that hour mark. So I want to make sure everybody has just a little bit of a second. So if you are new and you haven't yet said hello, please navigate yourself to the chat room. If you look at the top of your Teams screen, there's a little bubble that says chat. If you click on that, it opens up a chat box on the right-hand side. You can say hello. That's a great place to ask questions, share feedback. Please know that I will answer most common questions that y'all have when I talk today. I will be going through just a little bit of a slide deck presentation. Then I'm going to go through your project draft. Then we're going to meet the amazing academic support team and talk about their services and how they're here to help for you for your success. And then I will share my screen actually in the classroom space. So if you want to hop off, you can hop off at that point, or if you want to stay and kind of see everything, I'll be doing that too. But I know time is precious, so that's why it's recorded. So you can go back and watch that whenever it works best for you. Okay. All right. Well, y'all, the recording has been started. It's a couple minutes after the hour mark, so let's dive in. Your experience here at Southern New Hampshire University is very important to us. It is our policy and practice to create an inclusive and accessible learning environment. If there are ever any aspects of instruction or course design that present any barriers to your accessibility, please notify our Online Accessibility Center team, known as the OAC, as soon as possible at 866-305-9430. That's our phone number. You can call them. Or you can also email them at oac@snhu.edu or visit the Online Accessibility Center website. This team is a department here at SNHU that helps learners just like you get course content in a way that works best for you. If this is something you want to know more about, you want to see if this is something that you qualify for, you want to reach out directly to that OAC team, okay? Couple of just webinar reminders I already mentioned, but just in case you just hopped on, your cameras and microphones are not enabled, and this is recorded today, so you can go back and watch it as many times as you need to. This is considered an academic space. Always be mindful of your conduct. And I like to give students a reminder too that when you are in your Brightspace classroom, when you're in SNHU Connect, whenever you are in webinar sessions for any department or team, or even interacting via email or on YouTube, those comments, those emails, they are read by real humans. So remember that. Always be mindful of your conduct because all of it is considered academic spaces here at SNHU. These learning community webinars, they are not graded. You don't have to watch them. You don't have to come to them. They're not required. No extra credit. But hopefully, if you've been watching them, they've been helpful in you completing your assignments from week to week or understanding kind of where to click and what to do. So that is why these webinars are here. Okay. Sound good? Any questions so far? Also, y'all, I will turn my camera on here in just a second and then I'll shut it back off. Miss Amy is here from the academic support team. And we learned last week when we did another webinar that when I share all the things and have all the screens going, sometimes it can lag. So I will turn my camera on quick and then I'll shut it back off. So I just wanted to make sure that y'all knew that. So I'm going to turn on real fast. Hi, everybody. This is me. This is Melanie. I'm your learning community facilitator. So you will see me in the IDS 104 learning community in SNHU Connect. I do teach a section of IDS 104. So I have some of you. I have about 30 of you. But you guys all know you have other instructors too. But this is me. This is my face. I'm the voice that you hear in those videos and webinars, and I'm the one that answers a lot of those comments and questions in the learning community. So hello, I'm so glad that y'all are here. Okay, so y'all, week 3. So how are we feeling? Are we feeling like we're getting in a little bit of a routine? If you have found yourself like, yep, I'm kind of, managing my time okay, I seem to be kind of like getting in a groove, awesome, stick with it. Some of you might feel like, oh my gosh, I am still figuring this out. I'm still catching up. Life is happening. Or you might be somewhere in between. But I want to just remind you to take a deep breath, because when you add school to an already busy schedule, it can feel like a lot. And it takes a minute to kind of shift priorities, people and things, to really get in a routine that works for your success. So I always tell students, if you haven't yet kind of scheduled that homework SNHU time, give it a try in a way that works best for you. Maybe it's in the morning, maybe it's over lunch hours, maybe it's after everybody in your house goes to bed, maybe it's in the nooks and cranny of your day. I even have some students that take like public transportation, like that live in the city, and they tell me like they're on the bus or the subway or the train. That's when they do some of their work. So just know when there's a will, there's a way, right? But it's just really important, if you are stuck or if you've fallen behind or you have questions, like please remember that your faculty and your instructors are the best people to always reach out to, especially if it's anything about grades. Okay, because your faculty are the ones that grade you in the courses. They're the ones that can see what assignments you have turned in or what you have not turned in, or if you just need some feedback on how to do things better or differently. Your faculty and course instructors are the best person for that, okay? But it's also really important to make sure that you are an active participant in your education. So what is expected of you is a little bit higher, right? So it's really important, like, are you checking those course announcements? 9 times out of 10 questions students have are answered in those course announcements. Are you checking your SNHU email? That one always gets forgotten. That is how the university communicates with you, y'all. That is how your advisors reach out to you, your faculty reach out to you, especially if maybe you're missing an assignment or you were struggling on something, or they're going to offer you an opportunity to redo something. That is how they get a hold of you. So make sure that you are checking your course announcements in your university email, okay? But if you're doing those things, but you're stuck and you still have questions, please, please, please do not hesitate to reach out and push that assistance video or assistance button, sorry, assistance button, which is using those SNHU resources. You have teams of people here from the library with citation support to our help desk, which helps with technical things. You have me in the learning community with the videos and stuff that we do. And I see in the chat that some of you guys are watching those. Awesome. I'm so glad they're helpful. You have the academic support team, which you're going to learn a whole lot about. There is just a lot of support for your success. So I need you to remember you're the one that has to reach out to utilize those resources to keep you going towards your goals, right? And students always tell me like, oh, I'm nervous about reaching out to my instructor. Please don't be. We wouldn't be here without you, okay? So we want you to do well in our class today. So I would rather have somebody reach out to me and ask a question and me be able to direct them than to have them not turn something in or do poorly on an assignment, okay? So just remember that. Like, take a big, deep breath and just remember, like, to say out loud, everybody say it with me or type it in the chat, like, you got this. Like, I can do this, all right? No matter where you're at in the week, like, SNHU is just really excited for you. You've got a lot of resources, but you have to believe and connect yourself to these resources for your success, okay? So I just wanted to kind of just take a minute and check in with you regarding that. The other thing is, real quick, I wanted to tell you too, is that I get a lot of questions about grades, right? Like, when is my assignment going to be graded? How come it takes maybe a little bit longer for assignments to be graded? First and foremost, y'all, your faculty have 7 days to grade. So for example, when you guys did everything in week 1, remember how you had like an initial discussion post due Thursday, 2 peer responses due by Sunday, and then your other assignment by Sunday, right? Your faculty have then from Sunday to Sunday to grade. So some things, especially if they're manual graded, like discussions, journals, activity assignments, those take some time, but they always have 7 days. Some faculty grade as things come in, some grade throughout the week. Some you might not see your grades until Sunday night. That's just how it is. If you are offered an opportunity to resubmit an assignment, don't expect your instructor to grade it right away as soon as you turn it in, okay? Still, it takes some time, and they want to make sure that they grade you appropriately and give you that that'll be supportful to you. Yes, your professors, your instructors, that is definitely it, okay? All right, so let's talk a little bit about why online engagement matters. Obviously, you guys are in an online classroom, but I hope you're learning that online engagement is so much more than even our classroom space, right? Of course, in the classroom space, you know, online engagement helps us connect with our classmates, our instructors, But it also can build our professional and academic presence, right? When we are actively involved in the online spaces like our classrooms, it increases our participations and our learning outcomes, which helps you meet your goals to get to the graduation stage, right? And get that diploma. That's why we're all here. But we also learn that when we engage online, that we are able to collaborate with others in these online spaces, which I think is so cool. So think about it right now. In this very webinar, we have people from all over the United States, different majors, different time zones, different backgrounds, but yeah, we're all right here. I saw still hear me. Sometimes Microsoft Teams can be real sassy, and so you might have to check your stuff. Okay, so this week's topic, big time, and the last couple of weeks, we've talked a lot about digital literacy. So as a reminder, y'all, digital literacy means knowing how to use technology safely, effectively, and responsibly, right? But it's more than just being able to use that computer or that phone. It is all about finding information online. It is about knowing which sources to trust. It is about understanding how to communicate respectfully and clearly. It's also about protecting ourselves, right, and our information. But it's also about creating content and not just consuming it, okay? So I tell students all the time, when we are online, we have stuff coming at us all the time, right? There is information coming at us constantly. And it's so important for us to understand where it's coming from, what the sources are, and what we can do with it before we share it, okay? So let's talk a little bit about digital communication made easy, all right? Things to think about as you are navigating these online spaces, but also this is going to tie into your very first part one project draft, which is your only assignment for this week, okay? So I see a couple people in the chat that said they can't hear. If somebody would help me out and make sure that they type in the chat for them to check their own laptop, phone, iPad settings, they need to make sure they've enabled the team audio settings in addition to the audio settings on their systems, okay? So I want to make sure. And also, if it's cutting in and out, it could be because of the internet energy that they are working from. So they'll have to shut everything else down and just have Teams. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about digital communication made easy. So have you guys noticed when you're working in the online environment, it tends to be helpful when communication is clear and concise, right? Which means for you, when you are responding to classmates, when you're sending those emails, when you're putting together your assignments, in the academic world, but then also think about your professional world or your everyday personal world. You know, if we can keep our message focused, organized, relevant, and easy to review, our message tends to be clear and not get lost, right? So, you know, avoiding jargon, avoiding those acronyms. I don't know about y'all, but I have teenagers and they text in acronyms and I have to like stop sometimes and look it up. Anybody else have that happen? I'm like, what does that even mean? Sometimes I see that in academic writing too, and I have to remind students that that is not something you want to be putting in your academic writing. So do not use acronyms in your academic writing. Avoid kind of those like slang or jargon words because somebody might not know what they mean. It can lead to misinterpretation, right? Make sure we're matching tone to purpose. So always, no matter what, y'all be professional and respectful. Especially it's so hard, I think, sometimes in the online environment. We can mean something so well, but if the way we type it is like, for example, like all caps, it's like somebody's yelling at you, right? Or it's really short and too direct. You're like, whoa, did I make somebody mad, right? So just remember to always kind of like read into how you are writing, even in the online spaces. It can be helpful too to add those like emojis or like, hey, how are you? Or have a great day to keep things casual and also, you know, just be a little bit more personable. But also, sometimes people don't love emojis. I don't know about y'all, but I love emojis. I tend to overuse them and I have to get better at it. But I think sometimes it can just really help, right? Practice that active listening. So make sure you're reading carefully before responding and acknowledge what others have said before adding your perspective. This is big, especially in your discussion boards, y'all. We have so much time that we tend to skim and we tend to not get all the details. This happens on assignments. You know, they miss something in the assignment instructions, but this happens in the discussion board too sometimes. So really always make sure that you review what you were saying before you respond. Take a minute, pause, right? I also love to tell students, like, it's so helpful when you're in your online spaces to ask those open-ended questions. Like, get to know your classmates. Like, what do you think about this? Or, hey, have you ever experienced that? And be timely. There is nothing worse, y'all, when we are working, whether it is professionally, personally, or academically. If you reach out, for example, to your instructor because you have a question about an assignment and you're like, oh my gosh, I don't know what I'm doing, and they respond to you and then they never hear back, we're like, wait, what happened to that student? Did they get everything right? Or same thing with y'all. Like, I have a girlfriend, I think it takes her like 2 to 3 business days to respond to a text message. Anybody else have that? And then I forget what I was even asking, right? So just remember to also be timely, especially in our academic and professional worlds. Okay. Formatting is a big deal. When something is important, a lot of times people like to either like use italics or bold, but break up those long posts with headers or bullet points. If y'all have been in SNHU Connect in the IDS 104 learning community, I posted an announcement this week and I tried to make it real concise and very easy to read with just a couple of bullet points. And students like commented like, thank you so much. That was much easier to review and read. So it makes sense to me that that is a little bit easier for students to understand and see just real quick, right? So how can we make our stuff more concise instead of so long? Of course, respecting that digital etiquette, like we talked about, don't be sarcastic. Don't use those acronyms because things can be easily misunderstood. Also, especially if we are addressing anything that maybe could be a sensitive subject or it could be some kind of a constructive feedback, I always like to call it the compliment sandwich, where you like compliment somebody, give a suggestion for improvement, and also encourage, right? Where are my managers or leaders in this webinar that you have to work with your employees? That's something that can be really helpful, right? And then, of course, y'all, I think it can be really easy to forget that, like, we never know what's happening behind the screen, right? So it's really important for us to always show empathy and acknowledge the presence of all of the people that we are working with. So acknowledge challenges, thanking people for contributing to the discussions and validate those different perspectives, because I always feel like we learn something different, but also always be inclusive, right? Like avoid jokes or inside jokes or references that everybody might not get. Use accessible language. It just really helps us be also more culturally aware. We have such a diverse population here in our academic classrooms, but also just our everyday personal and professional spaces. So remember, no matter what, to always make sure that we are listening to others' experiences. If it's something we're not familiar with, something that we've never encountered, always ask those respectful questions. It's always good to learn more. Be mindful of your language and tone, and just make sure that you're really recognizing and hearing from everybody, especially if it's anything that's group related. Okay. Couple of things too, just to kind of remind you. Oh, I like that in the chat. Back in the day, writing in red ink came across as angry. I remember that. Like, I remember being graded with red ink. If you saw red all over the paper, like, ooh, you didn't do so hot, right? So I've always associated red ink with that negativity. You're so right. So just, easy things to think about, like that sometimes we forget about until it happens, right? So just a reminder too, like how we can kind of make sure that we are building those inclusive communities and getting our messages across appropriately. So especially from the academic perspective, being respectful in our dialogue in the discussion boards is important. Supporting classmates in group work. If you have any classes that have group work or you're working with a partner on assignments, like making sure that you each understand your role, what is expected of each of you, what each of you is contributing, and just making sure that you're aware of any potential accessibility needs. Okay, so just kind of some things to think about, especially as you are navigating, learning about what it means to be a good digital citizen. What are these digital literacy skills that we're trying to put together? And just kind of to sum it all up, what it means to be a good digital citizen is that you're able to navigate online platforms confidently. You're able to evaluate those sources and use incredible information. This is a good point too. I had a student tell me last term in IDS 104 as an example, that they saw some like article and they were like, oh my gosh, that happened. And they shared it without even like really looking at it or thinking about it. Well, it turns out that what they shared was completely inaccurate, had a lot of wrong information. And then people kind of like came at them in the comment section and they were like, whoa, I learned a real hard lesson real quick to stop and evaluate the information that I am taking in before I share it or react. I thought that was such a good comment from that student, because we want to make sure that what we're sharing and what we're digesting is credible and correct, right? We also want to make sure that we, of course, can communicate effectively in emails, discussions, assignments, and able to manage your digital footprint responsibly. I tell my students and my children and myself all the time that anything that we do online is always able to be found, right? All the time. So that's just kind of a quick recap of what y'all are talking about in your IDS 104 class this week. And as we head into your only assignment for this week is your project draft part 1, okay? So this project draft part 1 only is due by Sunday or before, as convenient for your schedule, okay? So I just want to kind of break this assignment down real quick. So for this project draft, you have a template, all right? A template is a document that you can open up and you can type directly in it. So it's going to have the questions listed inside of it, right? For this assignment, you have a PowerPoint option for the template, or you have a Microsoft Word template, okay? So just a reminder, in case you don't have PowerPoint or Word access, you do get Office 365 for free as an SNHU student, which has both PowerPoint and Word in it, okay? So what I tell students when they're like, I don't know which template to use, something to think about for PowerPoint. If you're more of a visual person, you like to use maybe some graphic, like some pictures, or, add some fun images to your document, to your slide deck. That's what I like to call it. Then PowerPoint might be the way to go for you. Okay. If you're more like, I just like to write, like I like to just have my information like streamlined and organized. I don't want to worry about graphics or making it creative. I just want to write it, then the Word document would be the best way for you to go. Whatever you choose, you are going to use the same template throughout the term as you submit the different parts of your project drafts, okay? So basically, like for this week, for part 1, you're going to like pick, okay, I'm going to do PowerPoint or I'm going to do Word. Let's say we do PowerPoint, okay? So if you pick PowerPoint, you're going to open up the slide deck, which I'll show you it here in just a little bit. When you open up that slide deck, you're going to type directly in it. If you want to add images, you want to add graphics, you want to change the colors, whatever you might want to do, that's totally fine. I saw some really cool slide decks last term when I taught this class. And on the flip side, I saw amazing Word documents with great information. Okay, so just whatever you pick with, you stick with. Or sorry, whatever you pick, you stick with. So if you choose PowerPoint for all sections of this assignment, because there's different assignments assigned different course, okay? Sometimes students open this up and they just complete the whole thing. That's okay if you did that. However, you most likely might have to go back and redo some sections because we haven't gotten to that yet. You only want to focus on one point at a time, okay? So does that help on, you're going to pick PowerPoint, you're going to use that PowerPoint template the whole time, or you're to use Microsoft Word, okay? And does that help kind of understand like how you might want to pick it? Open them up, click around in them, see what you think, okay? So for project draft part 1, it is all about digital community. So what you are doing is when you open up that Word document or you open up that slide deck for PowerPoint, you're going to see these questions already listed on the document. So when you open that up, whether it's PowerPoint or Microsoft Word, you are able to type directly into that assignment, okay? So you are answering these questions. 1, discuss how digital literacy skills help support meaningful connections in digital communities. Things you need to include. 1, what digital literacy skills help support meaningful connections in a digital space? And then B, why are they important to have when making connections? You want to make sure you're answering those questions. Question 2, describe communication strategies that encourage digital connections. So things you want to make sure you discuss for this part. How pick those strategies, so at least 2. I always tell students, whenever it's plural, you want to always speak to at least 2. Okay, if you have more, awesome, but at least 2. So you want to make sure you pick out those at least 2 communication strategies, and then you want to share like how does each strategy encourage those digital connections, and do those strategies work all the time? Yes or no, and why or why not? Okay. And then part 3 is you are comparing the skills that you would use to engage in a digital community versus an in-person community. Okay. Question 4, explain why being inclusive of different cultures and backgrounds contributes to a respectful digital community. Share your thoughts. And then 5 is reflect on the skills that you bring to a digital community. Okay. So when you talk about the skills that you bring, you are going to share what skills would you consider are your strengths? What skills would you maybe like to develop further? So notice it says skills. So always have at least 2, but you can have more than that. And then the last part of that is what makes you feel supported in a digital community. Okay. So when you go to answer these, if you are in that Microsoft Word document, of course, make sure to complete sentences, details, examples. That helps. Keep relevant to the topic at hand. These answers should be like a paragraph, maybe 2. They should not be longer than that, okay? Especially if you are just answering the questions and staying relevant to the topic. For the PowerPoint, you can still write in a very similar way, but to make it kind of aesthetically pleasing or to make sure that it flows well, you just want to make sure that everything makes sense. So you don't want to crowd everything onto a slide. Like I had a student last term that had great examples and details, and she broke up maybe what was on one slide into 2. Does that make sure? And if you want to on that PowerPoint, change the background and make it colorful or have something like that, that is totally fine. You can add your own design to that, okay? Also, if you want to leave the slide deck just how it is and just answer the questions and not add the elements of like any photos or graphics, things like that, you can do that too. What matters, y'all, is that no matter if you do the PowerPoint template or the Microsoft Word template, is that you are answering the questions, showing that you understand the concepts and connecting it, okay? And then also that it's relevant to the topic at hand, okay? Check the rubric when you do these and kind of grade yourself and just make sure that you're on the same page, okay? So I know it seems like a lot, so I will show these 2 options here in a minute, but I first want to make sure that I introduce you to the wonderful Amy from our academic support team. She is here today to talk to us about the services that academic support has here at SNHU, because all the services they offer just really help you find what you need to succeed. So I always like to share a couple of fun facts about the people you get to interact with, because you don't get to see us very often because we are in an online community. But Amy is a training specialist for the Academic Support Center, and she teaches here at SNHU. She used to be a professional makeup artist for over 20 years. So fun fact about Amy. She has also been a student success coach and career coach for online students. So she has worked with online students just like you for years, y'all. So she knows what she is doing. Her team knows what they are doing, and they are a wonderful resource for you. Some of the best advice that Amy likes to give is as an online student herself for 10 years, she has learned that asking questions and finding valuable resources are the key to success firsthand. So what we're going to do is I am going to share some slides, and Amy is going to tell me when to move forward through them. And then we're going to take a little tour online of the academics support team menu of services so you guys can really understand where to click and what to do. Okay, so Amy, I'm going to turn it to you.
Thank you, Melanie. Hello, everyone. And I can't stress that enough. My little piece of advice about being an online student myself for 10 years. I juggled full-time jobs. I was working. I had a family. We moved to different states throughout my journey. So I understand what it's like to be in your position if you are also in that situation where you are now a student again on top of life. It's a lot, but it's a marathon. So please take all of the advice we're giving you today and take it with you as you move forward. One of the biggest questions everyone asks when they first hear about the Academic Support Center is where to find us. So there are 3 easy ways that you can use as a pathway to find us. The first one is right at the top of your navigation bar, right in bright space of any course, it'll say Academic Support right at the top. You can see that right on the screen. That is going to land you directly into our home page landing site. You'll even have a little account you'll see when you jump in there automatically. The second place is through your My SNU page. So if you tend to kind of use that as your jump off point to find different things, we are on the academic online or online academic support center under academics. So got to click a couple times to get there, but once you get to all of the resources are there for into our platform or into the ARC, which we'll talk about today as well. And the third place where you can find us really easy is any Brightspace course has a module that says academic support, and there are 3 different links in there for you guys. The very top link is called Get Help with Your Schoolwork. That is us. You can click right into that link. It'll drop you right in our platform. And then, of course, you have the Shapiro Library, and then the OAC as well is in that module. So there are 3 different pathways that are probably the best pathways to find us directly. And you can move forward, Melanie. And if you've never heard of the different services we offer, they are, number one, we have something called the ARC, which is a digital database of tons of resources. Now, while I'm talking, I'm going to go ahead and drop some links right into the chat. So if you are the kind of person that likes to jump in and kind of follow them around on your own, you can absolutely jump into these links and kind of see what's happening. The ARC is a digital database. It's got everything you could possibly think of about course content, topics like APA, or just even looking through the world with an IDS lens, right? We have a whole section on that particular topic as well. There are tons of resources here. So tutorials and videos and diagrams and anything you can think of that's first self-serve to see if you can find it there. That's probably what I'd recommend the most. And it's that very first link in the chat. If you bookmark that, you can jump into there at any time throughout your degree. The second platform kind of offering that we have, if you jump into our platform from the third link in the chat, is 24/7 drop-in. And this is your tutoring service for immediate help. Again, 24/7, anytime you feel the need, you can jump in here. It is a chat feature. So it's not necessarily one-on-one with somebody virtual live like we're doing today. It is chat, but you can connect a document if you'd like in the chat, and they can kind of go forward from there. So it's a great option if you need just a quick question answered for something you're working on in the moment. The next one is written feedback, which is also a quick well, I shouldn't say quick. It is a preemptive kind of process for you. So if you're the type of person that likes to kind of get things going and then you want a second set of eyes on that paper, this is a great option for you. It is a drop-off paper service. So just remember that when we get in there in just a moment, you'll see there's a lot of information you want to give because they have a 12-hour turnaround. That particular tutor has a 12-hour turnaround. So if your paper is, lengthy, let's say 6 to 8 pages, you might want to just put a portion of the paper in there and let them know exactly what you want them to look at. Because we're talking today, and I was listening to Melanie talk about the option of a PowerPoint, the only limitation for written feedback is that it will not accept PowerPoint formatting. So if you want somebody to take a look at your PowerPoint, jump into the 24/7. They can do that through the shared link. Okay. And the next one is academic coaching. That is free to anybody at SNU. You have the connection to a person that can be your champion as you are running this marathon long term, somebody to hold you accountable, to help you with time management, to help you kind of synthesize the process of what does this milestone work into this project or work into this assignment, and kind of looking at that rubric and figuring things out and piecing it all together. Maybe you need some help with focus or productivity. That is where your academic coaches come in. They can also help with anxiety in the class. We have math anxiety, that's a big one, right? Or maybe you're just not really familiar with the, the online space and maybe you want to watch technical things. That academic coach is yours for the duration of your degree for life. We call it coach for life. So throughout your entire process, they'll get to know you really well. Whether you guys want to meet live or you just want to communicate through email, or you want to communicate through phone, it is up to you and that coach how you guys want to support each other in the cadence that you want that to happen, whatever works out for your schedule. So really cool option for you guys. And then the last and definitely not least is our learning specialists run a plethora of group sessions, workshops, and office and peer groups. There are tons of options for you guys to meet in a shared space. And if you can't meet in the shared space, and I'll show you the workshop schedule, which is the second link that's in the chat, is really extensive. We have now, we're up to about 140 different sessions, which means you'll find a session that fits your we can attend pretty easily. However, not big note, you can simply sign up for it anyway. You will receive the recording automatically in your account when you jump on our site. So if you sign up, you can watch it later. It's that easy. And the one thing I do want to say with the workshops, we have workshops and we have something called office hours. Office hours is that space where you can jump in and jump out and ask specific content questions to somebody live. So workshops is kind of a preset presentation. Maybe you're learning about, persuasive arguments. Maybe that particular workshop just about that topic. However, there might be an office hours for English 190 where you can jump in and ask anything about that particular content, course, or just in general about persuasive writing. So it is up to you, but those office hours are going to be a nice addition to the 24/7 drop-in. And you can move forward, Melanie. Perfect. So if you click on that I think it's the third link, the direct access, you will see that it's going to drop you into our homepage. And literally up top, you'll see all the things I just talked about. The ARC is under the resources tab, which is over here to the right. Yep. And it'll drop you right in the main page of the ARC. This is where I suggest everyone just bookmark this right off the bat. And Melanie, if you can jump into that main workshop schedule chunk right in the middle there, that featured link. Yep. And if you scroll, you'll see there are tons of days and times available for workshops and office hours. So there is a lot of information for you guys, a lot of opportunity to learn together, ask questions. And if you're not that type of person that wants to be social, hey, you could be a fly on the wall too. Sign up. You can get the recording and just see for yourself if your question was answered. Most likely, if you had the question, somebody else did as well. And most likely you'll hear that question get answered in those office hours. If you want to show up for yourself, 5 minutes, jump in, ask my question, jump out, you can absolutely do that eventually as well. But it is an option for you guys to get the recording. So that's amazing. And then if you jump back to our main platform, Melanie. Perfect. 24/7, if you want to jump in there, we can show you what it looks like. You're going to click on it. It's going to ask you a couple questions about what the topic is, what the subject is, and you'll see a drop-down menu that kind of formulates there. Sometimes I get requests from students or responses from students that, oh, what I'm looking for is not there. And not to say that it's not there, but that tutor might not be on that particular day. So this actually changes in real time when that particular person is on. So like, let's say there's something really niche that you just need help with. Maybe it's graphic design, right? And not very many tutors for graphic design. So if that particular tutor is not there that time and day, they may be another time and day. So please check back if you don't see your specific subject matter. And then of course, entering your question or as much specific information you can ask, the better. And you can see the attach a file. So if you want to share your PowerPoint, let's say, this is the place that you would do that. Okay. And scheduled support is where you'll find your academic coaches. And if you jump down to the academic coach one, you'll see that it's going to ask you, hey, are you struggling with course content or are you struggling with everything? Maybe it's just being a student again, right? You need to learn those basic skills to get you through this marathon. And that's where you want to click that right side. You'll see some initial goals that you can choose. But again, you're probably going to go through all of these at one point in time or another with your coach. And then essentially just get started with what you think you might need, and you guys will discuss that. You'll see a menu pop up, and then you'll start to see a bunch of different coaches that are available for that time and day. So really great stuff. If you want to connect with a coach, this is where you do it. And then you guys can decide from there what that process looks like for the two of you to meet again. Written feedback is the next option, and that is your paper drop off. So just like 24/7, you're going to put in all the information you want to ask. There is lots of fields that you can enter. Where are you in the writing process and what's the topic of the paper? They're going to ask you a bunch of different things. be as specific as possible, because that way you'll get your questions answered specifically. For instance, let's say you give them your whole paper and you don't really specify what you're looking for. They might say, yeah, everything looks on point, but maybe you really needed to know about sentence structure, right? Or you really needed to know about how the topic, the thesis works with all the other, topics within the paper. Does it all flow? Be specific. The more you can ask, the better for your result. Okay, perfect. And then I think our next one is workshop. So again, remember that workshop schedule that I handed you guys earlier? This is where you would book it. So if you jump into this, and this takes a minute to populate, so just give it a moment. If you're looking for specific office hours, so that's the drop-in format where you can just come in, come out. It's easiest to just literally start typing in office capital O. And that's going to give you all of the office hours, hopefully. Go ahead and click that. Let's see what happens. It should filter it. It doesn't. I think it's a capital O. But if not, I know we're working on this particular keyword option. It's happening in our, nope. It's very specific. Not a big deal. You don't even have to put keywords. You'll see everything populate on its own. And yep, there you go. And if you hover over each one, you'll see its description. So you can book now. It'll put it on the calendar for you. You can also launch from here as well. So right after this call at 2 o'clock, and I put this in the chat as well, IDS office hours happens on Wednesdays at 2 p.m. Eastern time. So really cool. Right after here, you can jump into here, jump into the office hours, ask your questions, and essentially that's going to run every week on a Wednesday at 2 p.m. So really cool stuff. And there are many options for many different other office hours and workshops. And I think if you go to, actually, I want to show everyone, if you go to the 24/7 real quick and just scroll down, I want to show everyone where it says previous sessions. So this is where all of your previous sessions will be, including that 24/7 help. If you chatted back and forth with somebody, it will be right here. You can go back to it and refer back to it. You will also have previous sessions for any recordings you sign up for workshops, any office hours you sign up for, any written paper feedback. All of the activity that you sign up for or book will be here. So really cool stuff. You can go back and set it up or go back and review anything at any time. And I think that brings us to, yeah, I think that brings us right to the front. The one thing I will say about your account, when you jump into your main page here, and it says account, my account over on the right-hand side, if you want to set up text messages to remind you, if you go to account settings, it'll ask you if you want reminders. So this might be something that's good for you as well. Sign up for reminders here. It'll text you your phone number and a text to your phone number. So if you have a workshop coming up and you forget all about it, it'll give you a nice quick text message, or you'll get an email automatically when you sign up. And I think that's it. You can also see your previous sessions here as well. So really cool stuff. As you start building on all of the sessions you go to or sign up for, you'll start to see your main home page be really dynamic, and you'll start to see, this is what you'll have little, I don't know what they're called, little things like you see here where it says you're scheduled for this and that, and everything is there for you. So you'll start to see it be a lot more dynamic when you get involved with it. And I think that's it for our tutorial of Academic Support Center.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much, Amy.
Got it.
Thank you so much. Y'all, please tell Amy thank you for popping in here today and just running through all of the amazing resources that academic support has. And we know that it's a lot. Like there's so many resources that sometimes that in itself can be overwhelming. So I always tell students, like, start small. Like if you have not written academically ever, or it's been a long time, the best place to start would be written feedback. They can look over discussion assignments that you've written, those rough drafts. They can look over like activity assignments, journal assignments. They can look over your part 1 of this project draft that you're creating. Remember too what Amy said, if you do the PowerPoint option, PowerPoint can't be uploaded to written feedback, so don't stress yourself out trying to figure that out. Just navigate yourself to 24/7 drop in, and you can ask them to review it and drop the PowerPoint slide deck in there. Okay. So I know it's a lot, and I know there's a lot of information that comes at y'all all the time, but just remember, you just start small. Start with one thing. And Amy and her team are absolutely incredible. And I have students every single term tell me they wish they would have utilized those services earlier, especially if you're trying to navigate getting into a routine and just understanding how to be like a college student and just manage all the things. Those academic are absolute gems. So I don't sleep on the services. Click around, explore, ask questions. Okay. All right, Amy, thank you so, so much. I appreciate you. And I know the students do too. So y'all, what I want to do real quick is I want to navigate into our classroom spaces. Okay. Before I dive into just a couple of things, I want to remind you, because I saw a couple of questions in the chat. One, there are weekly webinars every week for your course in IDS 104. Okay. So we are live today. But typically, every Monday morning, bright and early, in that first year experience YouTube page, and I'll pop the link in the chat when we get done today, you can go bookmark that and you can go into the webinar section and just look for the week. So like next week, just look for week 4. If you're going to watch the recording of today's, once I get it posted, you're just going to click on the webinar link, look for week 3. Okay. So they're not live every week, but you also have focus videos that are in YouTube that are already loaded for the entire term that walk you through like how to do an activity assignment, an overview of this project draft assignment, things like that. They're there. Okay. So I wanted to make sure that you knew that. I also saw questions about for this project draft assignment. Is this the only assignment this week? Yes, you only have this assignment. It is part 1 only of your project draft, and it is due by Sunday or before as convenient for your schedule. Okay. And also too, like if you're ever stuck or you can't find something or you're not sure on something, we post all webinar information, or I post all webinar information in the IDS 104 learning community in SNHU Connect. Every week I do like a week, like week 3 homework help, and I tag it so it's at the very top. So you can always see it. It gives you all the webinar information. It gives you all the video links. It gives you a reminder of your assignments, all that kind of stuff. But remember, the best person to reach out to when you have questions or you are stuck on assignments, grades, things that are coming up is always your instructor. Okay. So let's talk just real quick through the project draft. One, I wanted to point out, if you do not yet have Microsoft Word, click the arrow and go to Online Student Services. When you do this, it pulls up quick access links to every single department here at SNHU. Sometimes it takes a minute, but I wanted to point out, if you'll see advising, you'll see technical support, you'll see the bookstore, the library, they're all right here too. But if you scroll down almost to the bottom, you'll see Office 365 and other software. It's a blue heading. Click on it, follow the prompts. It gets Microsoft Office 365 downloaded to your system. Okay. If you get stuck, something's not working right, reach out to our amazing help desk. Okay, I wanted to show you that. I also get questions about citing work. It is so important, y'all. If you are using definitions, terminology, work that is not your own, quotes, images, whatever it might be, you want to make sure that you properly cite those sources. For IDS 104, you cite those sources in APA format. Students are like, I don't know how to do that. I've never done that before. Don't panic. Do your best. Reach out to your instructor, but also do a little bit of research on your own of how to do these things. Our amazing Shapiro Library, if you click that little arrow link, you are going to see this incredible citing your sources guide. Okay. This is so helpful for how to cite your sources. Plus, you could always have the academic support team written feedback. If you select that area that's important to you about like citations, they can look at some of those things too. Okay. So just know that those pieces are here. How do we find everything for this week? Well, course menu, go to learning modules, right? When you go to learning modules, y'all do not forget to click through your module introduction and your module guides. This is really important, and often students skip right over it. And then information they need is right there, right? Because your information, your reading, your things are within your classroom space. So remember that. So click through, scroll all the way down, arrow over. Make sure that you review the guide, the content that is within here, because it really helps you answer the questions on your assignments from week to week too, okay? Also notice there's a whole little section about the IDS 104 learning community, which is amazing. If you have not yet been in there, There's a lot of great resources. Also, you'll see the required resources, any reading, journal articles, videos you want to watch that just really will help you with the content from week to week, okay? Please know too that when you go into SNHU Connect, there is an academic side. That is where you will find the IDS 104 learning community, or there's the social side. That's where you'll find all those clubs and organizations, okay? So if you ever get stuck, like just let us know, but there's a direct link for your 104 learning community. So let's talk about the assignment. When you go into the assignment, it gives you an overview, it gives you the directions. We've already talked about this. Your job this week, when you open up that template, whether you pick the PowerPoint template or the Microsoft Word template, is you're only answering the questions for part one. Remember, this is a universal assignment. I think I saw some questions in the chat about, can I use communities that I've been talking about before? I don't want to self-plagiarize. Can I use these? Y'all, this is universal. Like if you look at these questions, you are not speaking specifically to a digital community, okay? You are talking like in general. So in general, and this is about you. So in general, like what do you think? Like why do you think digital literacy skills help support meaningful connections? Talk about them, right? What are communication strategies that you would use, for example, to encourage digital connections? Like, how do they work? Why did you pick them? Will they work all the time? Will they not? Like, what are the skills that you can use in digital and in-person communities? Like, explain why, like, what are your thoughts on being inclusive of different cultures and backgrounds? How does that contribute to having a respectful digital space? Question 5, reflect on the skills you bring to a digital community. That can be just in general, okay? And you'll see underneath right here under what to submit, you are going to see in the blue PowerPoint template. If you want to do PowerPoint, you click on the PowerPoint template and it's going to open up a document that looks like this, okay? Generic, plain, has all the content within it. Students always ask me, so if you pick the slide deck, remember, if you pick the slide deck, remember that you can make changes. I always tell students, if you delete anything, just make sure that you have all pieces and parts, okay? So you can definitely change this up. You can go to design and be like, I don't want it to be that. I want it to be this color. Great. Just make sure it's legible and you can review it, okay? I saw a question in the chat about this live session only for Melanie Shop students. Nope, y'all, I get the opportunity to work with every single one of you no matter whose class you're in, okay? But if you have specific questions about your grades, your assignments, your feedback, always get with your instructor, okay? So I just wanted to point out real quick, like you can change things up in a way that works for you. Shall you use this slide deck? But what I wanted to tell you is you will notice that it says in the directions, like insert your own content on each slide, but it does ask you to keep the titles. Some of you, it does say on here, you can remove the questions. Some of you, to stay organized, you like to keep the questions and you like to answer underneath it. Do what works best for you. Check in with your instructor, but just make sure at the end of the day you have all pieces and parts, okay? So for the slide deck, you are answering part 1. You'll see it says complete this section in module 3. So notice right here, so you can see I typed right in it. You can literally type right in here. So I just wanted to point those things out to you, but you'll notice as you go through the slides, if you want to add images, whatever you might want to do, it's right there. Then you're going to notice you're going to get to it where it says part 2. This is your not going to complete until module 5. And as you keep going through the template, you are going to see part 3. You're going to complete that in module 7, okay? Keep in mind too, there is a sources section at the end. So I always tell students, especially as they're like working on it, you know, in chunks, for this week, I would take a copy of this slide and move it to the end of part 1 if you use any sources. Make sure they're cited properly just so your instructor can see them at the end of your part 1, and then move it down to the end of part 2, and then you'll have it at the end for part 3 for module 7. Does that make sense? So just know that this is where everything is at, okay? So does that help on the template? This is what it looks like. You are more than welcome to leave it just how it was. You are more than welcome to add color to it, add images. That's the biggest thing. Again, y'all, for this assignment, if you review your instructions, you will see that you are only completing part 1, all of part 1, okay? That is all you're doing. Take a deep breath. Part 1, that's all you're doing. Okay, that was the slide deck. Does that help with the slide deck? Now, let's say the slide deck is like absolutely not for you. You would rather do it more like essay style or like written document. Totally cool. Do what works best for you. Click on the Word project template. It is going to open up a document that looks like this. Keep in mind, these highlights are mine. When you open this document, you will not see the highlights, but it just helps me show you the different weeks, okay? So part 1 right here, you're going to notice the same questions we've talked about are listed right here. Here, insert your response. So this is where you are sharing your feedback to these questions. Complete sentences, use details, use examples, make sure that it flows well, it's organized, it's easy to review, stay on topic, stay relevant. There is no reason that answering these questions should be more than a couple of paragraphs, 2, maybe 3. It should not be a page, y'all. Okay, does that help with that? There's not a specific word count. You're not going to get docked if you go over, but really stay relevant to the topic at hand so it's clean, it's organized, it makes sense. Does that help answer that question? This is what that template looks like. So you're going to see all those questions we've talked about. They're highlighted in yellow just to show you the example, because then you're going to see for module 5, you're going to talk about part 2. All right, and then you're going to see module 7 is part 3. And then you have sources down here. Okay, again, this is the only assignment you have for this week in week 3, module 3 for IDS 104, and it is due by Sunday or before as convenient for your schedule. Okay, so does this help break down slide deck versus the written Word document? Okay, no matter which format y'all use, I'm going to go back here real quick and flip my camera on. No matter which format y'all use, the key is making sure that you answer the questions and you have all pieces and parts on whatever template you use, okay? So I always tell students, like, if you want to write more essay style, totally cool. If you want to write more bulleted style or whatever it might be, the key is making sure you have all pieces and parts, the questions are answered on topic and effectively. And I always say it's helpful to have details and examples. But if you want more specifics or you're not sure on something, reach out directly to your course instructor, okay? So I just wanted to pop my camera on real quick so you can see, like, this is all you're doing for this week is just part 1. You're going to complete those other sections in upcoming weeks. I know some of y'all got excited and you might have already done the whole thing. That's okay. It's okay. You just might have to go back and tweak a few things or edit a few things, and you're turning in this document. Now, don't panic. 2 is if you turn this assignment in and like the Turnitin score is higher than normal, it's because it's a template assignment. So your faculty know to be looking for certain scores, okay? Also, make sure when you're uploading, whether it's the PowerPoint or the Microsoft Word document, make sure you're uploading the actual portion that you have completed, okay? Like the document that you're actually actively working in. Every term, I'll have a student or two who uploads the blank template. And then they're like, wait a minute, I turned it in. Why'd I get a 0? They just submitted the wrong document when they were uploading. Okay, so make sure you upload the completed document that you're working on. Okay, again, for this week, y'all, only part 1. Remember, when are we submitting the other sections? It says very clearly in the instructions, they're going to be module 5 and module 7. Okay, now the only other thing I just wanted to remind you all of too is, of course, you have access to academic support right here at the top. Don't forget about being able to find how to download Office 365 for your success here under online student services. Okay. And then just remember too, like, make sure you hop into the IDS 104 Learning Community. There's a lot of great resources in there. There's a lot of great information in there. There's students constantly asking questions from all different sections of classes. The biggest thing is if you are stuck or you have questions on anything that's specific to you, your grade, or an assignment, always reach out to your instructor. Okay. All right. Did this help? Did this help? So this is week 3. This is all you got. You only have part 1 of that project draft. We talked a little bit today about what it means to be a good digital citizen, how to communicate effectively online. We learned so much from the academic support team and all the services that they have to support you in your success. I hope this was helpful as far as picking like Microsoft Word document or slide deck, that PowerPoint. Do what works best for you. You're going to stick with that same. If you pick Microsoft Word, you're doing it through the entire term. If you pick PowerPoint, you're doing it through the entire term. If you're stuck, if you have questions, you're not sure something, connect to user resources. Always ask in the learning community. Academic support is always there. There's written feedback. If you use the PowerPoint, use 24/7 tutoring. Your instructors are there too. Okay. All right, y'all. I'm going to shut my camera off real quick. I want to take just a minute. I'm going to stop sharing my screen here real fast. I want to just double check the chat space, make sure that I got all of the questions. Just a reminder too, you're only doing part 1 of this project draft. No, you do not need to delete any other pieces or parts. Okay, you do not need to do that. If you want to do that, that is fine, but just know you're going to have to combine all of it into one document in the end anyway. So no sense in doing that unless you really want to. And then your assignment is due by Sunday or before, as convenient for your schedule. Again, just part 1. Y'all take a minute, slow down, read the instructions. It's very clear. It says you're only doing part 1 in week 3, module 3. Okay, just know that. Just take a minute, pause. Okay. I'll see what else I got. Post those here in the chat here just real quick, y'all. So you can have those links. They are going to be right here. So give me just a second. I'm going to pop them in here. You will see the link for webinar recordings. You can click on that and you can just look for the week you want to watch. Okay, they're listed there for the term. And then if you go to the focus videos and click on focus videos, you will see a lot of tutorial style videos just to help you with that. Okay. So let's see what else here. Any other questions? I just want to verify, make sure I got everybody for everything. And again, this is recorded. So I'm going to get this downloaded. I'll get it uploaded to that webinar link. And then you will be able to review this on your own time when convenient for you, or go back and watch it as many times as you need to for your success. Okay. All right, y'all, I think I answered all of the questions. You can find, you know what, let me share my screen here real quick, Jess. So a couple of things on finding SNHU Connect. One, because I'm a faculty member, my screen looks a little bit different. So I just wanted to point that out, that when I click on certain things a certain way, I can't always access it the way that y'all do. But I want to show you just a couple of places for you to find it. Is one, when this loads up, you'll see underneath here, SNHU Connect. If you click on SNHU Connect, you can just search IDS 104 Learning Community, and then you can join it. But also, I think it was back under module 2. Hold on just a second. There's also, sorry, so I'm gonna go to the start here area. There's always a couple ways to find it. Right here underneath this learning community. Might just take a second. It's right there. So did you guys see where I found that? So click on course menu, learning modules, and you go to start here and you scroll down. You will see right here, click on learning community, and it's going to have you sign in with your SNHU stuff. Okay. So what it looks like, oh, I'm not going to make you guys watch me do all that, but you'll be able to sign in and then you'll be able to see where everything is. Okay. Did that help kind of show where that was? Keep in, and it's not much of a search. Again, course menu, start here, learning community, click on it right there. That's kind of the easiest way. But remember too, there is an academics part, which is where you'll find IDS 104. And then there is the social side, which is your clubs and your organizations. Okay. So I wanted to make sure that I pointed out that to you. I always tell students you want to actually join the IDS 104 learning community. You'll need to adjust your profile, like setting notifications so you don't get a bunch of emails, things like that. But it's a great space to be in if you haven't been in there yet. All right, any other questions, y'all? I am going to get ready to hop off here. I'll get this recording all situated and get it uploaded. Remember, I'm going to put those webinar spaces right here so you can always find them. And again, if you get stuck, if you have questions, if you need anything, don't hesitate to reach out. Remember, y'all, we're super excited for you this assignment. You can totally do this. Just remember, you got this. We're excited for you. Have a wonderful week 3. And next week, y'all, is the halfway point of the term. Whew, how did we get here already? So y'all have a great rest of your week. Have a wonderful week 3. And I'll see you in week 4.